Well, happy Tuesday,
Hey,
Mitch, right? And here we are
happy
again in our weekly
Tuesday.
session.
There
How
you
you
go.
doing,
I
buddy?
mean, where does the time go? That was so quick. It just seemed like yesterday we were talking about sustainable habits last week.
I know,
I've
it's
been
flown
good,
by,
and
right?
you?
Yeah, I've been really good. Have you had a good week? Have you been able to keep on with your sustainable habits through the course of last week, mate?
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, it's been a busy, hectic week, but again, with all of the busyness that comes along and so much things to focus on, when you develop these habits, they become like automation essentially. So they're like Zapiers in your life where you sort of like automate a lot of things, and because the habits are second nature, it's like even if you're tired at like 7 in the morning, because I work at nights just like you do,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
7 in the
exactly.
morning. But all of a sudden you get a second wind because your body tells you, hey, I have a hankering for a run to get by. So you just have to get up and go. Otherwise, your body's gonna be resisting it. Which if you weren't in the habit of it, it would be the other way, and it'd be like hit the bed at this time. So it's very powerful, definitely a very powerful force. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about it in little snippets in my LinkedIn posts. So a
Okay,
lot of people have been asking about it. So yeah, pretty much a good
excellent.
recap of last week's show. Thanks for asking.
No, good man. Good man. And again, I'm very privileged and proud to be able to do this with you, and I hope that ultimately we're out there and we're helping people, and people are feeling the positivity coming from particularly yourself, Mitch, which is a nice segue into our topic today, right? So we talked a little bit off camera. God, I never thought I'd say that off camera
Off
about your
camera,
top
yeah, you're like
off
off
camera,
camera.
right? um, about what you wanted to talk about today, right? So why don't you go ahead and share your topic of discussion today?
Absolutely, to the geeks out there, we're gonna talk about protons.
Man, that's
Science joke
for
right there.
yeah,
Hey,
that's funny.
because we're gonna talk about positivity. So positivity is a powerful force in anyone's lives, and it's a motivator, a mindset. It's something that can power you through the toughest of times. And a lot of people keep saying, be positive about things, keep looking at the bright side. Things are going to end. Keep looking up, that sort of thing. However, in my experience, and again, full disclaimer again, based on this show, this is a show about sharing our experiences rather than us claiming to unlock the inner secrets of your mind through scientific means or whatever. We are not doctors, we are not therapists or counselors or anything, but we are um, you know life journeymen, and we have substantial amount of years of experience. I'm 21, Paul's 22, so after college.
After college, exactly. I love that. I love that. Thanks, Mitch. I'll take that every day of the week. I'm
Yep, we're gonna
22.
have those little asterisks at the bottom. Ages reflect after 30 years old or something. But yeah, so essentially it's reflecting life's experiences. And one of the aspects of positivity that you see Paul and myself do a lot is we laugh a lot, and we have this fantastic connection and sense of humor. We highly encourage people to do. I know the theme of the show may seem pretty serious, but it doesn't hurt to laugh a lot and have a good, clean sense of humor every now and then, because that just develops this positive feeling and positive vibes and positive attitude as well, right?
Absolutely. So there's three things regarding the power of positivity that you want to discuss, right? So
Yeah.
why don't you kick us off with point number one?
Sure thing. So yeah, a lot of people have, just as a sort of intro, is that they think that being positive is just all about encouragement and happiness, and just feeling good in the face of adversity or danger and everything. So the 3 points I wanted to talk about are, just in my experience, some of the pitfalls you want to avoid when trying to harness the power of positivity. And point number one is, positivity doesn't mean that you have to project this force field around you that sort of ignores imperfection around you. You know, positivity doesn't, and by that, what I mean about that is that a lot of people think that being positive is about ignoring all of the stress in life, you know, and just putting aside. You know, one of my favorite movies actually is Pixar's Inside Out. You remember that
Okay.
movie?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not that
Yeah.
old, mate. Yeah, I remember that movie. I
Well, I
remember that
remember
movie.
it when I was going to grade school. So, you know.
That's such BS. Anyway, carry on. Carry
But yeah, you know, in Inside Out, essentially, they're in the mind of the little girl, and there are different emotions there. And for the longest time, they were trying to suppress sadness, right? They were like, "Oh, we have to be happy. We have to keep things happy and going and everything." And they were always like trying to hide sadness and everything until it came to a point that the lead character, again, the name escapes me. Do you remember her name? I'll remember it in a little bit. But
I want to say Jenny, but I don't think it's right. I don't think Jenny's right. I don't.
I don't think so too. This is gonna bug me, so I'm just going to just it's Riley. There you go. Thank you,
Riley.
Google. Riley. So yeah, essentially, it comes to a point that they've suppressed the feelings of sadness so much that Riley just suffers from a breakdown and runs away from home and everything and all of that. So it's actually a very deep movie because again, this is a great example of which we want to avoid a false sense of positivity in which when there is a situation in our life in which we need to take head on and tackle, we shouldn't sweep it under the carpet nor hide it in the closet under the guise of being positive. If for example, we're faced with sickness, or we're faced with financial trouble, or we're faced with a pandemic, or we're stuck at home, you can't always just tell yourself and create this force field and say everything's good, I'm feeling great, I'm cooped up here at home for 24 hours a day for the last 3 months. That's good, I'm enjoying it. Cool. Just like the guy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was like, yeah. Essentially, that's essentially not a good practice in my experience because essentially it allows you to have this false sense that everything's okay until the point that it just doesn't become okay, and then the problem becomes even bigger because you refuse to tackle it head on and you refuse to recognize it. So yes, and so positivity is not about ignoring problems. And I think we talked about this in our first episode, is that
Yep.
anxiety and depression, when you feel it, it doesn't mean that you're mentally unwell right away. It means that there's something, it rings an alarm bell and you have to take action on it. And so that's essentially, our body's way, our evolutionary way, our method of us to handle or tackle issues. And so we still need to harness positivity. And the positivity there is in the way we handle the situation. And we say, yeah, this situation is bad. I don't like being cooped up at home, or I have an obesity problem. I'm sick, or I don't have work. What am I going to do? I'm going to run out of money in 2 months or something. So here's my action plan. So that's when the positivity kicks in, because you create something around it and say, yeah, if I do this, this, and this, things will get better. Instead of just giving up and saying, oh, there's no way I'm going to get out of it. So that's where the positivity kicks in. The positivity shouldn't be before you recognize the depression or the anxiety or the stress or the issue or the problem. It should come after that, when you develop part of your action part.
So I think on that point, Mitch, that it's a clear definition between somebody who appears to be positive all the time. Right? That doesn't necessarily mean that's not necessarily the true definition of positivity. What you're talking about here is understanding that there's going to be challenges in life, right? Understanding that people are going to have road bumps as they go through it, and rather than sweep that road bump under the carpet, as we would say in the UK, it's more of a case of going, right, recognizing you've got a problem, and it doesn't have to be, woohoo, we've got a problem. Like,
no, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that when you're talking about power or positivity, you're not talking about being upbeat and everything, just going, right, we know we've got a problem here, regardless of what that situation is. It's something we need to deal with. So let's see how we can deal with it now. And rather become a bigger issue, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even longer. Sometimes it's years, right? Sometimes it's, it's a very traumatic experience, and for one reason or other, people don't have the opportunity to, go through that grief time, and it may come back manifest itself in a different way 3 or 4 years down the road, right? So what you're talking about is having the belief in yourself that it's okay to take that time out and to deal with whatever issue it may be, rather than waiting for it to come back and manifest it in a different manner. Is my understanding correct?
Spot on. Yep. You are absolutely positive.
So. Thank you. Now, we've got a bit of a question out of left field from our mutual friend Jet. Now, I love Jet. Jet and I, we do a separate live stream. Yeah.
I know, we do sports and all, so tune in.
Yeah, man, it's great. Right? We do that every Monday. And I'm not sure how you can answer this question, Mitch, if I'm honest with you. Jet asks, how can you be positive when you're an Arsenal fan?
Oh man!
Any advice for our friend Jet, or is that something you'd want to discuss over a beer with him?
That is something definitely you want to discuss. That's how you can be positive when you're an Arsenal fan. Get a beer and talk it through. So definitely, if things will get better. This season isn't the last in all of football or anything. There will be many more to come. So yeah. So that's essentially kind of like, I know we're jesting, but that's a good way to look at it. If your team is down in a season, it doesn't mean that your team is down forever. There's another season. There's a way to rebuild, to reconstruct. You can draft new players. You can fire the coach and get a new one. You can do a lot of things to get things done. And so usually we've seen teams do that, like from the most dismal season of all, and they turned into champions. They turned into UEFA champions, or great teams later on afterwards. So, and the way they did that is because they recognized the issue. They said, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. We got to fix it. This is what we got to do. Boom, 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 boom. If it doesn't work, this is what we'll do and do and that. And until, but that whole situation from getting to finding plan A, B, C, D, and E is all anchored on positivity, because you're under the hope that each plan will turn into a positive result. And so that's where unlocking the power of positivity lies.
And when it comes to formulating a plan in terms of how you can overcome these challenges, is there a defined list or a defined process or structure that you would follow, or is it a case of it's not a one size fits all? Right, it's not a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt, so it's really dependent on what works for that individual, right? So, for example, what might work.
I think
for
that's
you,
a great discussion for another show. That's a nice. I think that's a great topic for next week. Let me write.
There we go. Take a note. So yeah, so we're going a little bit off topic here. So you said there was 3 points that you wanted to talk about the power of positivity. So the first one there that you raised was positivity isn't the all-encompassing positive force field that some people may think it is. So
that's right.
Moving on to the second point, my friend. What would the second point be that you'd like to discuss?
So a second point is a great segue to the first one, because I talked about the positivity isn't just about covering it from the beginning, but positivity is actually the means and not the result. So it's not necessarily that the result is going to be always positive and you're always under the impression that everything's good, because that's how I view things. But it's essentially how you approach things. And like that, we go back into that action plan. Your action plan has to be anchored around positive results, because you always target positive results. So you need to always target positive means. Your input has to match your output, and so in that manner, sometimes the output is not fully in our control. And again, we go back again to our earlier discussion about focusing on our controllables, right? And so the most the biggest factor, the biggest X sub one that influences the output or the Y is um, how our approach or our mindset in a particular thing is. And that's where, you bombard that with positivity. The exponential of positivity goes into there to expand that capability. So um, essentially, positive by training your mind to say that I'm applying positivity with the means, with the input, with my habits, with everything. Um, Sometimes the results may not come into the result that you want. So, for example, let's say you really badly want a job. You really badly want this job where I'm coaching podcasting candidates and everything, and I want to set it up and everything because that's a great job. Only the best people become successful podcast coaches, right? No,
Well, you'd
that's
like to think so, right? You'd like to think so.
that's all right. It's putting the wink in, but yeah, exactly. So you have a job like that. There's a job interview for it. You put everything. You research. You apply the positivity to the means. You say, okay, I don't know much about it, so I'm going to find ways so that I can know more about it. So I'll research. So you're positive about it. I'm positive that you take a positive approach in the researching more. You talk to people. You practice. You do everything like that. All of it is put into the means. And then, for example, at the end of the day, you didn't get the job because the gentleman who was interviewing you was favored a different approach for the show, essentially, and that's out of your control. Because let's say you're really good at what you do, but I'm really looking for this kind of fit into the show, and okay, that's out of your control. But the good thing was, because you bombarded yourself with the means to get there, you used positivity to know more about the podcasting industry, monetization, and all that. You've now gained something. You now have a net positive in yourself. You're now a better, more educated person in that particular aspect, and then you're ready for the next opportunity out there. There isn't just one podcasting coaching opportunity out there. There's many more, and you've now taken that approach. And it means you've now been redirected. This is where you see a lot of those quotes here on LinkedIn, that a rejection is not a rejection, but it's a redirection. So, you may have because you were not really a fit for that particular role. You were actually a better fit for another role, and now you're more successful than you could have ever been because you were a fit for that role after all. So you dodged the bullet there, because you would have been you would have been catching up, or you would have been like trying to fit, a square peg in a round hole, or is it the other way around, a round peg in a square hole? Either way, they don't fit. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, or like fitting a nonagon into a hexagonal hole or whatever.
Don't get smart on me, mate. I'm not at your level. But basically, what you're saying, and I get it, right? Well, I think I get it. Let me just break it down in simple terms for me. Is what you're saying is it sounds super corny what you're about to say. It's not the destination that's important. It's the journey along the way.
Yeah, man, I love that. That is right, awesome.
But that's what you mean in terms of learning as you go and picking up and making the most of the opportunities along the way. Correct?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
And not getting so hung up on what the final decision is or the final outcome is. Right?
Exactly. And this is again where the first point I brought up comes into play, because you're like you've now realized that things can go wrong, that the uncontrollable. You're not always like positive and like, oh yeah, the result will always be positive. I will have this job, it will be mine. It will be mine. Then you don't get it, and you crash. So yeah, Jet loves my nonagon to a hexagon. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what you need. But there we go. All right. So let's move on.
But I love how you quoted Steven Tyler on it. Life's a journey, not a destiny. So
I'm here to please, mate. I am just your driver. You just let me know which way you want. So the last point in terms of the power of positivity, or maybe some illusions of positivity. Maybe that's a better way.
Yeah.
And what what's the last thing you want to raise, mate, before we kind of bring the live stream to an end today?
Yeah, the last one is also a very inexperienced. You know, it's a very dangerous path. Also, if we try this, because you could be again, you know, realize that the means are the ways to positivity, and you know that imperfections are around us. So you know, but the third one is, you know, you need to also be aware of yourself that being positive doesn't mean that, you know, I'm positive. Again, you don't go to the extreme edge of that uncontrollable controllable thing, because the danger of that is you could say everything is out of control, everyone sucks, and I'm the best, I'm the greatest thing, everyone's against me, you know, I'm doing all the things right, I'm positive, you know, I've learned all this, I've learned all this. He didn't like me, he rejected me because you know, he had something wrong, he didn't like how I look, whatever, you know. You just need to be very careful. Being positive and confident about yourself means also that you need to realize that there are opportunities for improvement, and that you need to self-reflect and be aware that you know, there are things that I need to improve on, or you know, you go into that interview, you stumbled on a question, and you tried to, you know, dig yourself into a hole by, instead of acknowledging and saying, oh, I don't know much about that, but you tried to, you know, find a way to walk through it, but and then you were uncovered and everything. And then, you know, instead of saying that, oh, you know, I should have researched more on this, I'll do that in the future, you say, you suddenly climb up and say, oh, it's because, you know, he really didn't like me, that's why he asked me that question. So you need to be aware that positivity doesn't mean that, you know, you're the center of the universe, or that you're perfect, or that you know, everything revolves around you because I'm positive, you know. um, Essentially, it means that again, it goes back to the means, and say that you have you're positive, and that means there are opportunities for improvement. You're uncovering those opportunities for improvement as you go along, you know. As we go through the journey of life, we, even this late in our lives, you know, we don't even know what those opportunities are. We're uncovering them as we go about. You could be 80, you could be 90, and still discover that, hey, you know, I'm not really good at processing this kind of thing. And so you can still improve at that point. Never too late to improve yourself at that point. So, yeah, essentially, that's sort of like the third point I want to talk about in avoiding the pitfalls of harnessing this powerful force of positivity.
Mitch, I think you're bang on, particularly the last point there. So I'm conscious now that I'm not a spring chicken anymore, right? I'm not as young as you. Let's put it like that, right? I'm 22 now. You're 21. Respect.
Exactly. You know, you got a year apart, you know. So
exactly.
That's ages.
But I think,
you know?
exactly, yeah. But for me, it's important that when I get the opportunity, that I do go out. You know, we've spoken about this before. I do spend a lot of time reading. I do try to learn different things. I'm currently learning a different language. I won't share what that language is in here. It's extremely hard. Yeah, I've done Echida, right. I've done about 3 sessions. Sorry, I've done about 7 sessions, and I still don't know how to say my name. But I'm learning and I'm enjoying the process.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
But I completely agree with you that, you know, it's important that you look at things from a positive perspective. Again, that doesn't mean you have to be a cheerleader, rah rah rah. It's just like, where are those opportunities and where can I learn from it? So 100%, mate. We have a comment here. Jet has said, positivity is learning to live with the negative things that is around you.
Spot on, man. That is powerful. That is powerful stuff. And yeah, that's exactly it. You know, you don't put this force field and you say, you know, all the negativity bounces off of you and everything. So you have to learn to acknowledge it and then find a means to get around it. And because you have to be aware that, you know, I'm not perfect. There are ways to get around it. So yeah, that's like the anchor that sort of cemented all the 3 points together. Thank you, Jet.
And for an Arsenal fan in today's day and age, he's very positive. So keep it up, Jet. Keep it up. So Mitch, we're coming to the end of this week's live stream. Again, mate, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really appreciate and I'm thankful for you that we get the time to do this. And I hope there's people out there that are benefiting from your insights.
Definitely.
That's ultimately why we're doing this. For those guys out there, if you look down the bottom of the screen, that's where you can contact Mitch on LinkedIn. Mitch, anything you want to say before we say toodle pip to our audience out there today?
All I want to say is just stay positive, and stay positive, but keep within, those points or those experience points that I came across. Again, in the song, the sunscreen song, by Baz Luhrmann, he said that, advice is just something that was given by somebody who went through something and doesn't want the people he cares about to sort of go through the same kinds of issues as well. So again, these aren't like set rules in stone, or I'm not like trying to teach a doctorate class in psychology or anything. I'm just trying to impart the things that happened to me along the way, and sort of like make sure that you can have a takeaway from it as well. So again, if you want to talk about a couple of things, feel free to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and message me anytime over there, the link. And I'll be more than happy to have a discussion with you. Again, if you and that discussion doesn't necessarily mean a one-way discussion where I'm imparting the knowledge. You can also come in and impart your knowledge. I would be very, very happy to learn more about this thing, because we are navigating through this thing called life together, and it's the power of connections, of friendships and relationships that matter. So we want to harness more of that as much as possible.
Absolutely. And Mitch, just a question, mate. Will you be posting a synopsis of those 3 points on your LinkedIn profile over this week, so people have a reference point where they were enabled? Yeah.
Okay. Good point. Yeah, definitely. I definitely will be posting that as well. And then I also I'm planning to have these little 1 minute and 1 minute and a half snippets on my LinkedIn page every day as a follow through to this longer podcast, because I'm aware that sometimes 30 minutes, a lot of people want to get through the short version. So I'm also going to put some snippets every other day on it. It's called More Good Vibes, or MG Vibes. So
Nice.
feel free to follow me, or add me or connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to talk more about that.
Excellent. Mitch, again, thank you so much for giving up your time, mate. Looking forward to the MG Vibes. Looking forward to your post this week that kind of surmises what we spoke about today. And next week, I think we're going to talk about how a one size fits all doesn't work, right? And
That's
how
right.
people are different. Perfect.
Exactly. Action planning right there.
Action planning, or as Ryan Holiday calls it, right actions. Right action planning.
Right action.
We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, a guy with Holiday in his name, you got to listen to him. So
got to listen to him. So
yeah.
audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Really appreciate the comments. Please reach out to myself, reach out to Mitch if you've got any questions, or if you'd like us to discuss any topics. Please let us know, and we'll happily do that moving forward. Even if you'd like to be a guest on the show to spend some time with Mitch,
please
not
do
with
so.
me.
Yeah.
Not with me.
Right.
People only tune in to listen to Mitch, which is fine.
No, we're the podcast coach, all capital. And also, Paul's been so generous and everything, but I just want to say that, again, in today's day and age, content is king. A lot of people want to take away things and learn more from you, whether on LinkedIn or Facebook or anything. It's not about what you want to take from people, but what you want to give or share or impart. And a podcast is the best way to do that. So if you want to set up your podcast, you can reach out to Paul also. He is the podcast coach. He has definitely helped me get springboarded as far as podcasts are concerned, and has also helped a lot of individuals. And he's talked about a multitude of stuff. This is one of the more serious stuff. We have another show where we talk about food, drink. He's a show about sports. He's got a show also about mindset and fitness and everything. So again, each and every one of us have so much to give in this, and we just have the limited capabilities to reach out. But a podcast is probably the best way, because You talk about things. There's a visual factor. There's a connection because you see the person, and everyone can do it. It's free. It's all across the internet. So if you want to set up your podcast, reach out to. Oops. It goes the other way around this time. Reach out to the podcast coach.
Yeah, it's reversed. Right? It's reversed. Thanks, Mitch. Guys, thank you so much. Mitch, appreciate the support there. Thank you. Guys, have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next Tuesday, 5 p.m. across all our social media platforms. There's more to come from us. Stand by. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care. Bye.